In the 1960s, the world was obsessed with one dream: reaching the moon. Newspapers, radios, and televisions were filled with images of rockets, astronauts, and countdowns. The United States Apollo program had captured global attention, symbolizing humanity's ambition to step beyond Earth for the very first time. But while the spotlight remained fixed on the moon, something far darker and far more dangerous was unfolding quietly elsewhere in the solar system. On our neighboring planet Venus, the Soviet Union was planning missions so extreme that even today they sound unreal. These were not missions designed for safe exploration. They were suicide missions, sent straight into hell. The Soviets believed that if America could reach the moon, then Russia could survive something far worse. Venus was not just another planet. It was a challenge to human engineering, a test of limits, and eventually a graveyard of machines. Today we uncover the story of those Soviet suicide missions to Venus. Missions that revealed the planet's horrifying secrets. Missions where billions of dollars and years of research were destroyed in minutes, and missions that showed humanity just how brutal another world could be. This is the story of the Venera program. During the 1960s and 1970s, the Cold War had reached its peak. The United States and the Soviet Union were locked in a silent war, one fought not with bullets, but with technology, ideology, and prestige. Space became the ultimate battlefield. Whoever dominated space would dominate the future. America had chosen the moon as its target. Although the Soviets had already scored early victories, launching the first satellite, the first animal, and the first human into space, President John F. Kennedy raised the stakes with a historic promise. He vowed that before the end of the 1960s, America would land a man on the moon and return him safely to Earth. For the Soviets, this was a direct challenge. When Soviet scientists realized that the United States might actually succeed, they made a bold decision. Instead of racing America to the moon, they would go somewhere far more dangerous, somewhere no human could ever survive. They chose Venus. Why Venus? At the time, Venus was one of the greatest mysteries in astronomy. Scientists believed it was Earth's twin. It was similar in size, similar in mass, and located at a comparable distance from the Sun. Some even speculated that Venus might be lush and green, covered with oceans, jungles, or perhaps even life. But one thing made Venus different. Thick clouds completely wrapped the planet, hiding its surface from view. No telescope, no camera, and no human eye had ever seen what lay beneath. For Soviet leaders, this was an opportunity. The moon could already be observed from Earth. Venus could not. If the Soviets could reveal what lay under those clouds, they would achieve something far greater than a lunar landing. It led to the birth of the Venera program. Driven by this ambition, the Soviet Union planned 18 missions to Venus, more than any nation before or since. These missions were named Venera, the Russian word for Venus. Scientists knew one thing for certain: Venus had an atmosphere. The clouds proved it. But how thick that atmosphere was, how hot, how dense, how violent, no one truly knew. So the Venera probes were designed to endure the unknown. Thick metal shells, reinforced structures, pressure-resistant designs, and absolute secrecy. During the space race, Soviet policy was simple. Failed missions were never acknowledged. Only success was allowed to be seen. On February 4th, 1961, the Soviets launched their first Venus probe. It never even escaped Earth's orbit. The world was never told. Instead, officials claimed it was just another heavy satellite. This pattern would repeat again and again. Venera 1 launched on February 12, 1961, the first probe ever sent toward another planet. Just 7 days later, it went silent. It passed Venus at a distance of 100,000 kilometers, unable to send a single piece of data. Today, it still drifts silently around the Sun. Venera 2 followed in 1965 and failed the same way. Throughout the early 1960s, many Soviet Venus missions failed so badly that they were erased from public record. These became known as ghost missions, lost attempts that never officially existed. But the Soviets did not stop. In 1966, Venera 3 changed history. It was not designed to survive. It was designed to fall. As it entered Venus's atmosphere, the probe systems failed almost immediately. No data was transmitted. But on March 1st, 1966, Venera 3 became the first human-made object to strike the surface of another planet. The impact confirmed one terrifying truth. Venus was no gentle twin of Earth. Venera 4 arrived in 1967 and delivered shocking data before being crushed. It revealed that Venus's atmosphere was almost entirely carbon dioxide. Initial claims of a safe landing were later proven false. The probe had collapsed under pressure like a crushed soda can. Realizing that landing was impossible with their designs, Soviet engineers shifted strategy. Venera 5 and 6 were sent only to descend through the atmosphere. They survived less than an hour. Then came Venera 7, one of the most important missions in space history. Built like a tank, Venera 7 was designed for survival at any cost. A technical malfunction limited its data, but it didn't matter. From temperature readings alone, scientists calculated something terrifying. Venus's surface pressure was 90 times greater than Earth's. Its parachute tore apart. The probe slammed into the ground at high speed. Somehow, it survived. For 23 minutes, Venera 7 transmitted signals from Venus's surface, the first machine to ever do so. It recorded a temperature of 465 degrees Celsius, hotter than an oven, hot enough to melt lead. Venus was not just hostile, it was lethal. Winds, darkness, and survival. As Venera 7 descended, Soviet scientists noticed strange changes in its radio signal. These changes revealed something even more frightening. Venus had winds reaching 360 kilometers per hour, far stronger than any hurricane on Earth. Later missions, including Venera 8, confirmed that despite the thick clouds, sunlight still reached the surface in a dim orange glow. Venus was not pitch black, but it was endlessly oppressive. Some probes survived for over an hour. Under those conditions, that alone was a miracle. In 1975, Venera 9 and 10 achieved what once seemed impossible. They sent back the first images from Venus's surface. The world finally saw the truth. Venus was not a sandy desert. It was a nightmare landscape of jagged rocks and shattered stone, shaped by immense pressure and heat. Venera 13 and 14 represented the peak of Soviet planetary exploration. These missions sent back the first color images of Venus, recorded wind sounds and thunder, detected seismic activity, and revealed an orange sky above a brown rocky surface. But tragedy followed triumph. Venera 14's soil testing arm malfunctioned in one of the most ironic failures in space history. Instead of testing Venus's soil, it tested the hardness of its own camera lens cover. Millions of dollars, years of work, ruined by a single piece of metal. In the final chapter, Venera 15 and 16 abandoned landings altogether. Instead, they orbited Venus for 8 months using radar to see through the clouds. They revealed massive mountains rising 88 kilometers high and cracks stretching thousands of kilometers across the planet's surface. Thanks to these missions, Venus was finally mapped. Because of the Venera program, we now know Venus as it truly is, a world of crushing pressure, unbearable heat, toxic clouds, violent winds, and razor-sharp terrain. Although America labeled these missions failures, history tells a different story. Without them, Venus would still be a mystery. So many Soviet probes were sent that Venus is often called the Soviet planet. Many of its valleys and craters still bear Russian names. And one final question remains. If Venus's clouds are made of sulfuric acid, why doesn't acid rain ever reach the ground? Tell us your answer in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and share. We'll see you in the next one.